Hey guys, Mr. Cooney here, and I'm here to talk to you about the first lesson in our next unit, phrases. Okay, so we have studied parts of speech, we have studied parts of the sentence, and now we're getting into groups of words that kind of form the chunks of sentences. So unlike clauses, which will be the next unit that we'll do, unit 4, which each have its own subject and verb, phrases do not have its own subject and verb, but rather each phrase, group of words called a phrase, acts like one part of speech. So some phrases act like a noun, some phrases act like a verb, some phrases act like an adjective, etc., etc. So prepositional phrase is the first kind. Probably sounds familiar because you know what a preposition is. We kind of talked about prepositional phrases just in context. They're all over the place, right? There's one right there. There's one right there. Here's one right there of prepositions. That's a prepositional phrase. They all act like adjectives or adverbs. Okay. So if they act like an adjective, that means the prepositional phrase itself modifies a noun or a pronoun. If they act like an adverb, then they modify a verb, adjective, or adverb, like an adverb does. So if you look at these examples here, our stockpile of snowballs, to put it quickly, you can see how of snowballs describes the stockpile, right? With milk and bread is describing how the pudding is made, right? So modifies the verb made, that's what it's acting like. And also you see that has a compound object, right? You can have two objects. I brought back film footage of the horrible storm, right? And here we have also a modifier thrown in there too, but it still begins with a preposition and ends with a noun. That's the object. It points back to describing the footage, right? Okay, so I kind of talked ahead. They all act like either an adjective or an adverb. A couple more examples here. Dave tried every pair of skis in the lodge. And in the lodge, if you think about it logically, modifies the skis. It describes the skis. So that's an adjective phrase. An adjective prepositional phrase is what that means. To the party, okay, that emphasizes can come, right? So it's where you can come. So that is an adverb phrase. All right, so I'm not technically going to ask you to tell the difference between when you have an adjective and adverb phrase. We are going to ask you eventually to point out what the prepositional phrase modifies. So let's see. 20 items in the first exercise, 16 in the second. So we will go with 15 and 10. 15 items in exercise 1 and 10 in exercise 2. Exercise 1, just find all the prepositional phrases and circle them. Get used to seeing how often they occur. You might want to look back at the list of prepositions from unit 1 if you want to dig that up, or you can Google that easily. There's a finite list of prepositions that exist. Remember, it's always going to start with a preposition. It's always going to end with a noun or a pronoun. Okay. Exercise 2, a little more to this one. Circle each prepositional phrase and then draw an arrow to what it modifies. It's not always going to be right after what it modifies. Okay, but through the telescope, it's a prepositional phrase, modifies the verb looked. Captain slipped on the wet deck. Where is that? On is a preposition, right? So on the wet deck, there's your phrase. And it tells where he slipped, so that's also modifying a verb there. Okay, you get the idea. Do later this week, depending on which class I'm talking to now. Get to it.